Radical.
So I'm making my way back home. I'm on the road. If you wonder about the audio quality not being that great, it's because I'm a driving, and I'll try to talk a little louder to make up for all the road noise. Now, when I get home, I'm going to be working on the next Radical Rapid Fire Comment response. But here we go. I'm going to squeeze this in because I want to talk about it. We got some recent firings in the WWE. Specifically, first off, getting this out of the way, Brian Kendrick, who is not as well known as the other wrestler I'm going to talk about. Brian Kendrick, who is in the WWE, I think a longtime wrestler. I believe he was a part of a tag team years ago with Paul London, I believe. Paul London, famously known for an amazing elimination from the Royal Rumble to where he actually, who eliminated him? Snitsky? And he did like an amazing backflip. Look it up. Paul London, Snitsky, Royal Rumble elimination. But Brian Kendrick, who became a single star. I mean, if you say star, I don't know. Brian Kendrick, mid-carder, small fella, maybe a really good wrestler. I'm not sure. I just don't know a whole lot about Brian Kendrick outside of the fact that he was part of a tag team with Paul London. Now, Brian Kendrick got fired from WWE or let go or released. I don't know if it's because of some tweets on his Twitter, some out-of-the-way tweets that he was tweeting. I don't know. Probably some crazy outside-of-the-way stuff. I wish I had the tweets in front of me, but I don't. Because I'm on the road, I'm driving. But he got released from WWE. Could be because of the tweets. Could be because, well, they're just cleaning house. And they're letting go of a lot of people. Like they let go of Steven Regal, some other people that have been there for a while. So I think Brian Kendrick made history by being the first person, maybe the only person, to be released from two wrestling promotions, I think within a 24-hour period. Because he was going to go over to AEW, which is where a lot of people released from the WWE wind up, ultimately AEW. I need to catch up on AEW, by the way. Specifically the CM Punk MJF feud I heard is really good. But he got there, and then AEW, I guess, looked into it, started reading a lot of his tweets, and they said, no, we don't want you here, buddy. So, yeah, that's one part of the releases. The second part is much more interesting because, and I'll try to make this as not as long as I could. I could talk about this for about maybe 20 minutes, but I'll try to, cram it down, okay? Big news, Shane O'Mac. Here come the money! There goes the money. There goes the money. Shane O'Mac was released from WWE. We didn't think this was possible. Because if you look around at all the people in WWE, you're thinking, okay, his daughter, Stephanie, probably not going to be released. Shane, probably not going to be released. I don't think even Stephanie's like part of things. Maybe she's behind the scenes stuff, but she's not an on-air talent. Shane O'Mac was let go. I wonder if Vince called him up and said, son, dear old son, you're fired. They could have turned that shit into an angle, man. They could have. I mean, maybe cuts too close to home, but just imagine this as an actual angle. Or maybe Shane doesn't know, and then you actually get to see it happen. Maybe in the future they'll turn into an angle. I'm not sure. That'd be kind of a smart thing for them to do if actually he came back. And I'm just saying they could actually turn this into a real-life angle like they did with Edge and Lita and Matt Hardy. But you might be wondering, what did Shane do to be let go from the company? Well, it has a lot to do with the Royal Rumble. And I might have a side upload giving my review, my thoughts on the Royal Rumble. Okay, so that's something I'm going to, just leave for that moment when I get time to do that. Basically, though, a lot of backstage talent was very unhappy with Shane McMahon and the way he was booked in the Royal Rumble with his backstage behavior. He was very, very dismissive, very disrespectful of Jamie Noble, who used to be a wrestler, but now I think he's a backstage handler. I'm not sure what his specific title is, but he helps up the matches, I believe. Maybe a booker. I don't know what you call him, But Jamie Noble was disrespected, along with a lot of other people. Brock Lesnar, I think, was unhappy with Shane McMahon, and I think they had like a little. Maybe they talked to Vince or some other people about the way the match was booked. It was rebooked about maybe 20 different times, I'm reading. And a lot of that had to do with Shane McMahon constantly trying to change the match to actually push himself even further in the match. Now, granted, Shane McMahon he's in his early 50s, maybe 52-year-old. He's Vince's son. So if you actually have followed Shane McMahon and the Mean Street Posse and everything like that, he was never booked strong. He was always kind of booked kind of like a chicken shit, the boss's boy, the boss's son, you know what I'm saying? Like just a uppity chicken shit kind of heel. Here lately, though, he's been booked really strong, and I'm wondering, like, what's going on? Is he being allowed to book himself? Turns out, yeah, Shane McMahon was being allowed to basically book himself, and he had a lot to do with the booking of the Royal Rumble match, which is why it turned out to be so. Oh, I'm not going to give away my review, but yeah, so he was let go, which is really surprising, really shocking to me that the boss's son was let go. And I'm hearing actually, well, from what I'm reading and everything, looking into it, I'm hearing we don't know the full story, and it gets worse and worse. I guess he was just out of freaking control, and maybe he thought, there's no way I'm going to get fired. I'm Vince's son. For Vince to actually do this and fire his own son to let his son go, he must have been a huge problem backstage. So I'm wondering, if you're like Triple H, you're thinking, damn, I can't do a Triple H. I wish I could. You're thinking, damn, am I next? So the thought a lot of people had was, well, like Brian Kendrick. If Brian Kendrick was let go and almost gobbled up by AEW, then Shane McMahon, would he obviously be let go and brought into AEW? Think about the possibilities. Shane McMahon could have an angle to where he comes in and maybe he tries to take over the company, or maybe there's some legalese and he says that there's something in the contract, or, they could write it to where he comes in and has like an angle trying to take over AEW. And then maybe he has a lot of wrestlers, maybe from WWE. I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe a lot of the people from WWE could line up on his side and say that basically, we was waiting for this moment. We're going to take this and, turn it into a part of WWE. I'm just throwing that out there. That'd be kind of an interesting angle. But they're not going to do that because they have been warned that Shane McMahon is a madman backstage. And it's not worth it. The juice is not worth the squeeze, is what's happening there. So, yeah, Shane McMahon let go from WWE, and Brian Kendrick let go from two wrestling promotions at the same time.